Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're there. We're trying to be there. We've had a few technical difficulties this morning, as always, when it comes to me. These young people around here don't have a problem, but I certainly do. But good morning, I'm Bill Danner. If you're new to us, and we invited you here. I also have another advisor live this morning with us, Shana Fossum. So if you can see her, good morning. This morning we're going to be live, although we're going to be playing a presentation that we recorded on August 1st, halftime report that we have with our clients. It's a video of that market updates. You'll see any questions or anything that appeared in it that day. A lot of folks weren't able to attend, but those who aren't, we've invited to come back to this presentation. So during the course of the presentation, if you have a question rather, you can go into the chat box, type in your question, and Shana and I'll try to get back to you. Again, we appreciate you being here today. We have upcoming events that we always like to have you check our website and our calendar of events. We do most of these virtual right now. However, we do have a couple of live events coming up in the near future. Next, on the 10th, we have a virtual event. Daniel is going to do a presentation on elections and the market, which should be pretty interesting to see some historical data centered around what happens in the markets during election years. And of course, I may have a little side note to that to tell you this is not like most election years, as you are well aware, because of the division we have in the country as well as COVID-19. So this should be an interesting event. That's on the 10th. That'll be at 11:45. It'll be a virtual event. We're also going to be having a virtual event, educational event on the 24th. We're having our annual shred event where you can bring all the stuff you don't want anymore, all the documents, and shred them. But this time around, we're going to have a food truck.
It's not virtual. You come to the office.
What's that?
You said it was virtual, but it's not.
Oh, no, excuse me. This is a live event. Bring your trash, bring your stuff you want to throw away, and we'll have a Mexican food truck there, so you can leave with something in your stomach and empty your car at the same time. So we invite you to come to that. We are going to be having a special triple tucking event. It's going to be a workshop, a live workshop. You'll be getting information on that in the coming days. It's going to be with Chef James Barwick, who's going to actually cook a meal for us, and we're going to have a presentation on estate planning and retirement planning in general, and invite you clients to bring your friends. It'll be a great event. Now, we are capping the numbers on that event. We have to because of spacing and COVID-19 regulations, so you'll have more information upcoming. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt to use this technology we have in front of us by clicking on a video presentation. Again, this was a live presentation we did a few weeks ago on the state of the market. If you have questions, you want to make sure you go to the chat box, and we'll try to answer them. And then we'll, at the end of the video, come back on and voice any other questions that may take place then. So thanks for being here. I'm going to try this out. Here we go. I'm following directions so far pretty good. Maybe.
Looking good.
Looking good. Here we go. I'm going to mute my mic so I don't get.
And your video. That way you don't take up the screen. Bill, there's no sound. Can everybody else not hear it? Bill, I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, no sound. All right, we're working on the sound. Oh, we lost him completely. Here he is.
Yes.
Okay. So there was no sound in the video.
All right, we're going to try again.
All right.
Maybe we can't turn off our stuff.
No, we can.
Usually you can. We did earlier.
Click it. Play.
Take the first half of the presentation. I'm going to kind
Is it
of
working?
talk about where we are, where we've been, and Daniel's going to talk about where people think we're going. Now, with that said, you could ask 500 people where the economy's going, and all gets to the next. So, but what we have had is we do have some research, and some people far smarter than we are.
Still no sound.
Things just happen.
There you go.
So we don't have control over it. Well, in some cases, we make bad decisions. Who knows where this came from. All right, so if you got one of them darn things on you and you might want to silence it without remind myself to do the same. In case my wife calls, y'all, what's the song? What's it called? My best friend. My best friend. There we go. We don't hear that. Okay, if you have questions, again, we're not economists, we're financial advisors, so if you have questions, you ask. Do you have an answer, or if you want this to be informative, so don't sit there, you may have the same question somebody else has. So don't hesitate, you have concerns to talk about it. Now, we're a full-service financial advisor firm, that's what we do. This is the disclosure, we're not here to sell product or services, we're here to give you information today and have a good time. If you have questions afterwards and want to work with us, that's okay, we would welcome that. But right now, this is for a fun time and information purposes only. So we're going to have a review of the U.S. markets for a few minutes, and we're going to talk about what fundamentals support the economy and what doesn't. And then Daniel's going to get into the second half outlook of what people are talking about is going to happen moving forward. And that's all speculative, a whole lot have to do with what this thing is going to do right now with the so let's get right into it. This is what this year looks like so far. Isn't that exciting? Well, December 31st of last year, the S&P 500 actually so it was around 32.31. I don't know if you guys tracked it that close, but that's what it closed at, 32.31. And then we kicked off the year pretty good in December. You can see that number. You can't really see it back there. But we're hovering just under the 3,300 on the S&P. Now, what is the S&P 500? Well, it's 500 of the largest stocks in America, 515 or so. And that's kind of what everybody uses as a gauge that whether the economy is doing good or not, right? That's kind of what we use. That in reality, the S&P is trying to drive things more because the S&P is 500 stocks and the Dow is less than 35. So there's a big difference between 500 U.S. large companies and 33. So that's kind of the measurement that everybody uses in the economy to kind of figure out how things are going. So as you can see, we took off in January. It was pretty darn good. It was driven, frankly, by the positive things that are coming out with the trade agreements with China. Just think about that for a few minutes in hindsight. We look back, right? Things aren't looking so good right now. But for February and January this year, they were very, very good. Market actually took off. So February 25, that's when we started February 25th, we started hearing things like, hey, something's going on in China. There's a serious epidemic taking place there, and it hadn't yet reached us. So what happened when it started reaching us? As you can see, February 25th, health officials started to warn that this COVID-19 was serious. As you can see, things started getting worse and worse. On March 12th, President Trump institutes a European travel ban. So now we see it coming forward, and then March 16th, President Trump says COVID-19 could extend into August. Well, where are we right now? We're in August, but has it slowed down at all right now? Not quite, has it? Now, what happened when he made those remarks, things started looking better. Positive results started coming in from some of the clinical trials. Some of that has been discounted now, by the way. And as we can see, typically in the market, if you have a 30, 35-point drawdown like we did, which is the worst one, by the way, people look back and say, well, 2019, 2018, 1929, 1932 were worse. They weren't. We sold off 33 points in 21 days. 33% in 21 days. That's the worst in history. 29 and 32 were right behind it, 22 to 25 days. So we went through something that we've never done before in our financial markets. Most of the time, these recoveries are kind of like a U-shape. They come down and then they come back up like that, right? Well, does that look like a U or a V? That's a V. The bad news is it's a V but as we'll see later, it's a V, but we don't have a lot to substantiate that it ought to be there. Okay? That's the bad news. So on June 25th, the S&P was back to 3075. So we started the year at 32. We're back to 3075. Remarkable. Yesterday it closed at 3271. 1 point below December 31st of 19. That's crazy. That's good for all of us that experienced the good part of it, right? We're kind of getting back to where we were. So I'm not sure that we're out of the woods yet, and I'll show you why. Now, every year in December, all these talking heads, as a matter of fact, I went to an economic summit in December of last year in New York City, and got to go and participate in ringing closing bell. You don't get to do much of that anymore. It used to be open to the public, now it's invitation only. And I was in meetings with 4 of the leading economists in America, and nobody talked about COVID because nobody really knew anything about it. It's like the first week of December. But anyway, all these guys were given these kind of numbers here. Everybody had a number. So the media puts together all these talking points. What's the economy going to be like in 2020? Well, these guys were talking not only 2020, but most of them were looking at the next 10 years. And some of the news was not all that promising for long-term growth. But you can see the numbers. These are big firms. Morgan Stanley said that we'd have a 3,000 at the end of 2020. We're already past that. We're at 3271, right? But you see, a 3,000 is about the low number, isn't it? The high number is 3425. Well, we haven't been there. I don't know if we're going to get there. But it said for a 2020 average, 3272, we closed on Friday at 3271. But it's not December 31st. Right? So we're not necessarily going to get there. If we stay the same, that'll be great. So despite what has happened, we've had a remarkable recovery thus far in the markets. So what drove all this? Let's go back to be able to understand it. Let's go back to 2010. These are the leading economic and financial indicators. If we go back to January 2010, out of all those indicators, there's 20 of them up there. There were how many green. You can see it. 17 of the 20 are green and 3 are caution. So what was happening in 2010? We were coming out of the 2018 financial crisis. So things were looking very positive across all the economic indicators. You're talking about financial markets, disposable income, construction, interest rates, etc. Those are the indicators up there. So this is 2010. So that was after a major downturn in the market. Let's go ahead to January 2020, before COVID-19. Now, there's still 20 leading indicators there, but only, how many are green? Who can see it? 10. There's 10 green. Is there any red on there? Yes, there's 2. What are they? Geopolitical risk, political risk, and political environment. Woo! That was in January, right? I bet that number today is a little different. So let's see. June of 2020. But these are leading indicators. What that means is that these things are turning into yellow or red, the economy is forecasting to be something different than it is today. Okay? So now we look ahead here just last week. And how many green? 4. How many reds? There's 7 reds. So 7 out of 20 is 1%. Make a quick math. 35? Thereabouts? So, based off the leading economic indicators, what's driving this is we don't know. We don't know how well companies are going to do in the next few months. We have no idea. Stock prices are valued based on profits, and have y'all been paying attention to these profit reports? Just think about it. If we shut down the economy, we've got 17 million people not working. So we're not looking as good today as we did in December of last year or January. So we ought to be thinking about what we can do to protect our assets instead of being wide open in a market that's at a whipsaw. So what did the Fed do? Well, they learned some lessons from 08. In 08, they didn't react quickly enough to stimulate the economy. This time around, they reacted really quick. Within 8 days, they had the payroll protection plan in place for this small businesses. That's crazy. You never move that fast. Now, since then, they've revamped the program and all the other stuff associated with reporting, but they got it done. And they sent out the stimulus checks. And they did something with, that ended also on Friday, the unemployment compensation of $600 a week. There's people actually taking home more money now than they were working. So this thing is, I'm sure the House and the Senate are working this weekend, right? So that means somebody like to get a paycheck next Friday, doesn't it? So I don't know about you, but if you stop to think about the millions of people that have been drawing unemployment and that check stops, what's that going to do to the economy? So it's in the government's best interest to keep the money coming. They can't agree upon what to do about it, right? So here's how the Fed intervened. March 15, the federal funds rate to 0. Folks, that's good for borrowers, it's terrible for savers, right? Can't make any money on that money. QE is at least $700 billion, creation of commercial paper funding. These are all the things they did in a very, very quick time frame, about 3 to 4 weeks. And then in June 8th, they expand the Main Street lending facility. So they've got lots of paper they're putting on the street. They're printing a lot of money. And they're probably going to have to continue to print money. Now, long term, that probably doesn't affect you and I, but I worry about my kids and my grandkids. enormous debt. So think about that if you're dealing with fixed income bonds and or interest rates. I mean, if you don't earn much on that, how's that going to impact your ability to spend money if you need that income? So it's a rock and a hard place, and we're not out of it quite yet. I think it's your turn. It is my turn. So this is where we are. You can have some exciting news about what we're doing, right? I hope so. So, any questions so far? Pretty logical? It's real.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what may be happening in the future? Any particular things you want me to cover? We're going to be talking about the outlook. A couple of different things I want to hit on are still some things that we've been going through. Speak up if you have any questions for me. So what we're looking at now, some of these charts are unbelievable. It's never been seen, the amount of employment that has dropped, the amount of debt, everything is historic levels. What you're looking at here is the forward 12-month earnings per share forecasts versus the current market price. It's hard to see, but the red line here at the end drops straight down, and the blue line, the price is shot straight up. Now, how is it possible that prices of stocks and earnings of stocks to go through the bottom, but stock prices to go up? Anybody have a guess? The government injected money into the economy. For the first time ever, in the second quarter of this year, the government put more money into the economy than was created by the gross domestic product. More money was injected and printed by the Federal Reserve into the economy than was produced in the U.S. economy. That concerns me. Does that concern anyone else? I don't think that's long-term sustainable. They call it the Great Debasement. We're debasing our currency. We've created $6 trillion in money in extra debt. And there's countries around the world that don't like that. They don't think it's fair. They don't want it to be the world reserve currency moving forward. So there may be a consequence down the road to this money print. That's truly what it is. They can push a button on a keyboard at the Federal Reserve and create new assets. But they're buying individual stocks and bonds and propping up companies, picking winners and losers ultimately. So that's driven stock prices up because they've committed to unprecedented things to prop up the economy. So we'll see how long it works, right? So far, they have propped up stock prices. So looking forward, typically the price-to-earnings ratio on the S&P, that's how many multiples you pay for a stock versus its earnings. The average is from 13 to 15. But now it's 23. PE ratio is 23. What you see here is the inflation rate. Headline CPI is a basket of commodities that the U.S. government uses that excludes food and energy. We have very low inflation. Their target is 2%. They want 2% inflation. Their theory behind this is that they can keep prices going up. People will buy more today. We have a consumer spending economy. Now, to me, a better economy is based off productivity and savings than consumer spending and debt, right? But inflation is in check. They actually want it a little higher than what it is. That's their target is 2%. Right now, May of 2020, core CPI, which includes food and energy, is 1.2%. The headline is 0.1. Food actually has had a 4% inflation rate. Anybody notice the food prices going up? You got across the country, that's been around 4%. I expect that the food costs and production and all that, transportation of food has led to some of those types of things. Oh, I was going to mention energy as well. Energy, actually negative 18. We're seeing huge drop in energy prices, especially oil and gas, not so much in natural gas. So unemployment. April of 2020 was 14.7%. We had the lowest unemployment rate prior to that in 90 years, and now we have the highest in over 50 years, of course. So that actually is dropping. It's down to 13.2% today, and they're thinking by the end of the year it'll be around 9%. So we're seeing employment starting to come back. Who knows with the elections policy, a national shutdown at a high level. That is a concern. If they decide to implement a national economic shutdown, that would change all of this. And it's certainly a possibility. They've done it in other countries. They did not take a national policy here. I'm more in favor of local areas and states.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Other countries have locked down businesses across the country from a national level. Yeah, over COVID, yeah. To help spread the slow the spread of it. So let's hope that doesn't happen here. But it's certainly a possibility. So that's something we watch. But unemployment rate and wages. It's interesting, the gray line on the top is the unemployment rate. You see when it's high, like in October of 2009, wage growth is low. It makes sense, right? Yes.
Yeah, what about all the people that are not working because they're making more getting come to check the market?
Well,
Are they gonna be a huge jump back in the world with their spots?
I don't know. You know, I think we're seeing an increase in employment. I know part of the legislation they're working on, instead of giving people 100% of their employment wages, they want to cut it to 70.
Right.
Because it is a disincentive. Why would you go to work if you could make more money at home?
Yeah, but it doesn't get people to come back to work off of that.
Right? I think you're absolutely right.
Come back to work, they chose not to.
Yeah, you got to have an incentive to go do work. If you can just make the same money at home, then why would you go?
Should that make the blue line go up then because they're making more money at the house?
Right. Yeah, the wage growth, that would just count as unemployment.
I just think, so. I mean, it seems like that they're making more money on it. And I get what that means, yeah, but I'm saying if they're making more money at the house, we run into this in our business. I got friends, I got peers that can't do their job because their people ain't coming back to work because they're sitting at the house. They can money.
Yeah, the unemployment rate will go down if they cut the amount they're taking the business, give it to individuals. Right. And I think that makes sense. Why would you pay someone the same or more to stay home? So the other big thing too is as unemployment goes down, you know, it has an inverse relationship to wages. You're like when there's high unemployment, wages are down. When unemployment drops, wages go up because it's supply and demand. All right, now what we're looking at is something called the Consumer Sentiment Index. Every couple of months, the University of Michigan polls 500 random people in the United States and asks them how they feel about the economy. As you can see, it was pretty good here until this year, and then I dropped straight down. Do y'all feel good about the economy yet? Just in this room, who feels good about it? Raise your hand. Who feels negative about it? Right? I'm kind of neutral on this. It's hard to say how people are going to respond. The big unknown is we're still learning about this virus and how it impacts people, how it'll work out with schools reopening. A lot of question marks, right? I think the key is individual freedom. I think people need to have the ability to make their own choices, whether or not to operate their business or not. I think that's important in a free country, right? All right, so existing home sales have fallen off the ledge. They've dropped dramatically. Now, every real estate market's different. Around here, the real estate market hasn't been hit as much as other parts of the country. So existing home sales are a lagging indicator. Interest rate policy generally drives home sales, and we see historic interest rates extremely low, and those are projected to stay low through at least 2022. So now's a good time to refinance. Yes, sir.
We have to be very careful in the middle of Georgia, especially when we're on Houston County. Because we're in Boulder. I mean, we've been in Boulder forever. We were in Boulder really in 08, 09, 10.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we really don't understand what the rest of the country goes through sitting in where we are right now.
Yeah,
You know,
a lot of the military spending.
yeah, it's big.
It really is. So existing home sales are down, and rates are a good time to refinance. They're going to stay low like this for quite a while. So that's something to keep in mind. Now this, to me, is a bright spot on this. If you look at the peak of the market in 2007, the debt serviced by U.S. consumers as a percentage of their income, 13.2% of their income was going to pay their debt service, right? Interest on the debt, their debt. Now that's down to 9.7. That really surprised me, right? It's good. We need a lower debt level household level, we have a debt problem in Western civilization, right? So on an individual level, we're doing a better job, believe it or not, than the government at keeping our debt levels low. So that's a bright spot. If you have savings, it gives you the ability to withstand and weather the storm. We have less than a 5% savings rate, average person in the United States. Y'all know what they have in China, in Asia, with the savings rate, the average person is over 30%. They make less money and save 30% of their income. So we have a spending problem here. A lot of that's perpetuated by policy. We want people to spend money endlessly, right? To drive markets. But it's good to have a low debt level. We want to keep debt levels low. So to me, that's a bright spot there. So we've seen a lot of headlines, and everything right now is dictated by where COVID-19 goes and how we're going to handle it, when the vaccine is going to be rolled out, what kind of effects that will have on markets. That is the big factor right now, as everyone knows. So just looking out at the second half of the year, what to expect for the rest of the year. This is the target price of the S&P on the top, and the bottom is the closing price. So, you know, we still have some potential upside compared to the target. Now, I think personally, everything is going to be driven here forward by earnings improvement, quarter-over-quarter earnings improvement. We're not going to get back to the same GDP level, like $22 trillion, that amount of U.S. GDP, probably for 4 or 5 years, if we're lucky. But what markets are looking at is quarter-over-quarter improvement. Right now, we're seeing that, so that's helping stabilize markets along with the Fed's policy actions. But that's going to be the key moving forward is quarter-over-quarter improvement, knowing we're getting back to that level. So that should keep markets more stable. Forecasts for market growth aren't huge. Even without COVID, there's only a 4 to 5% target growth over the next 10 years for most economists looking at over the next 10 years in the U.S. markets. So GDP, change in real GDP. The blue line on the left is the actual, and over to the right is the median projection. So this year, the median projection is between -6% and -8% GDP loss to the U.S. It's negative growth, right? That's bad. But next year, because of pent-up demand, if we truly can find a way around this, find a way to treat it, see improvement, have a vaccine, any of those things, then there's going to be pent-up demand. People are going to return to more normal economic activity. And so GDP growth for next year's median projections over 4%. So that's great news. It would be fantastic if we could see 4% GDP growth next year. It means people are working, they're able to go out, enjoy themselves, buy things. So we'll see if that materializes. Corporate profits fell off the cliff. You can see there, largest drop ever in history. So we really, that's what we're watching, is corporate profit improvement. We've already tried to insulate our portfolio. We like individual blue chip stocks. We've eliminated positions that have broad exposure to China. We don't want to have companies that produce most of their products in China. We see that as a risk. So we've eliminated some of those companies just because of tensions. Trade tensions are heating up. Currency war is starting. If you understand what that is, China wants to be the world reserve currency with the yuan that they have with their currency. And so they've done all kinds of things to make that happen. Number one is they're buying a lot of gold, so they're seen as a safe haven. We don't want that. It would be a negative consequence for the U.S. if we were no longer the world reserve currency, which happened after World War II. So we have to think about that moving forward. So interest rates, they just announced a few days ago, are going to stay unchanged. They're not going to change any interest rates. They're going to stay where they're at now. We have a few more meetings this year. The Fed, September, November, and December. So as you know, the Treasury yields have dropped way down. So we have the lowest yields ever. So buying bonds when prices and yields are low, if prices rise, or if yields rise, prices fall. So if you buy a bunch of Treasury bonds right now, and then interest rates go up, you're going to get hit on your bond prices. We're not big fans of bonds. We do hold them as temporary measures in some certain circumstances. If you keep real short duration, that's your only only hope here. So I think the key is to stay focused on fundamentals. We like companies that have dividend history, 25 to 50 years, earnings increases every 7 out of the last 12 years. Blue chip stocks, big tried and true companies that stay focused on the fundamentals and the growth. The tech sector has fared much better in this. Any exposure like to Amazon and Apple, those types of companies have done very well because everybody's moving online, right? Everybody's looking at online purchases. So you want to look at companies' fundamentals whenever you're buying them. And also stay focused on your plan. 90% of people don't have a financial plan. They have savings and investments. They don't have a plan that shows how much risk they should be taking, where they should be invested at, where to take income from, how to keep your taxes low. These things should be a part of a financial plan, and that's what we do, is we tailor and craft a comprehensive financial plan for our clients so they don't feel uneasy in these times. Well, they might feel so uneasy, at least they know they're focused on their plan, right? So we have a plan in place to handle these types of situations. And the key is if you're going to be in the market, you want to buy quality, you want to look long term. You don't want to be taking your income from the stock market. Does that make sense? You want your income to come from more stable portions of your portfolio. So that way when we have a big economic hiccup like we've had, you're not going to be as uncertain because you know your income is stable. So it's common to have intra-year declines in the S&P 500 and in the market. 29 out of 39 years, there's been an average drop of 13.9% of the S&P, but 29 of the 39 years still into the positive territory. So we may end in positive territory for this year, but it is not corporate profits that's doing it. It's the government's policy actions that are propping up markets. That's not sustainable long term. What we're hoping for is if we get back to normal economic activity, then we have to focus on the debt. We can't keep this trajectory with our debt. We're over $26 trillion. Most of that is not owned by China or Japan. Most of it's owned by individuals around the world that hold treasury funds. But the portion that they do own, they're not excited about getting less than 1% yield on it. So they want to do away with dollars and the world reserve currency for that reason. So a couple of different things here is return to the S&P. This is surprising. The S&P since the best days since January 3rd of 2000. If you invested in the S&P and held it during the end of last year, you made a 6.06 return, 6% return. But if you missed just the 10 best days, in the market, you only had a 2.44% return of that period of time. If you missed the 20 best days in the market, you would have a 0.08% return. If you go all the way to the right, if you missed the 60 best days in the market since the year 2000, you'd be down 7%. Isn't that unbelievable? So that's why you don't want to try to jump in and out. In your market money, you want to buy quality, hold it long term. There has to be a reason to get out of the position. All right, any other questions before we wrap up? Yes, ma'am.
Realistically, what can you do about that? It's not going around.
Well, what we can't do anything. We have to get. See, the problem is this: both parties have contributed to the debt, right? So we have to hold them accountable. We have to say, no more of this. We're not going to elect you if you increase the debt. See, they're worried about an election cycle. I'm worried about 10, 20 years from now when it gets to the point where the largest payment we have as a nation is the interest on our debt. We have a real problem when that happens. But politicians are not focused 10, 20 years down the road. They're focused, all right, I'm getting elected next year. Let's get some more spending in here for my constituents so I can appease my voters, right? That concerns me. We have to hold them accountable. That's the only thing we can do. Any other questions? So, in summary, we've had a rough year, and the outlook is a little uncertain moving forward. But what you want to look at is, are we seeing improvement? Are we seeing less government policy action and more private sector growth? That's what we have to see. And I believe if we have the freedom to make our own choices individually, as towns, as businesses, I think we will see a move back into the economy and higher growth. And again, the key is to have a financial plan in place so you know what to do during these times. You know where your income is coming from. You know what investments you own, the best things for you personally tailored to you. So with that being said, that's our state of the market. If you have any other questions, I'll be around for a few minutes. I think we're going to tee off and golf in just a few minutes. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you everyone for participating today. I hope that was insightful to you. And again, this is available for, or could be available for you to review at a different time. If you choose to do so, we can make that available. But thanks very much. We will be in touch with you in the near future, and hopefully we see you back soon. Thanks everybody for participating today.